Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the latest episode of Into the Badlands, Curse of the Red Rain. And I didn't really like this episode because certain routes that they took with certain characters just kind of flew out of nowhere, or a lot of things that were going on mainly within the whole Baji and Sunny storyline that we were following in this episode really amounted to about nothing. I mean, granted, there was character development in it, but we also got characters that started throwing shit at us at the last second. I mean, we've got 2 episodes left before this series ends, and we've gotten things that are pretty much world-changing for what's going on. So, we start off, and we see that we're back with Cressida and Lydia. She had been called back, and she's like, why are you calling me back? Where's your tide? All that kind of stuff. They're, of course, showing her that they changed up everything, but, of course, Nyx pops up, and she's like, screw you, because she's a traitor, and then we find out that the widow is there as well, and they decide to take Cressida hostage, and trying to force Pilgrim to fight them in their own open field. We see them continuing on throughout this whole storyline of the widow being like, listen, Lydia, we need to do this because he's weakened from everything that he's done to wake up the sleepers. So it's better to push him now and take him out while he's weakened rather than wait for him to get his strength back up and create more of an army or do more with his army than what he can already do. And we get some pretty cool character development with the widow because she starts bringing this stuff up and says that she doesn't believe that she's the best to lead and that it would be better with Lydia and Moon because of what they've done in her absence to lead the Badlands. And that's a pretty big character step for her because she's usually used to doing stuff on her own, and it's nice to see that her interactions with the Master have tempered her expectations and seen that she's a great fighter. She can lead people, but just like with the whole issue of the gift, she's susceptible to that pull and allure of power, and I think she's come to acknowledge that. She then, of course, goes to figure out what's going on with Cressida later on, and Cressida throws the curveball to her that the widow's pregnant. And that kind of pops up kind of out of nowhere. I mean, I know that we've seen her with Gaius and all that, but it's been a while since we've seen anything, and I didn't think that they had the time to go through and have sex in order for her to get pregnant. It was like, okay, interesting, we'll see how this goes. And of course, Cressida is trying to use that against her, being like, let me out, I can see things with my gift, and of course, if you continue on this path, you and your child will die, kind of thing. It's like, nah, I'm okay, and she kind of goes off on her own. We see that most of them are kind of gathering up our forces at the widow's compound, and we see that Gaius and Tilda show up. Nathaniel and Lydia are trying to figure out what to do, and of course, she reaffirms that it's better to just fight on since we've got something to hope for, rather than try and like run away and protect everything with like them taking care of Henry and all that kind of stuff. Then we kind of start getting into Pilgrim's whole side. He's pissed off that his Harbingers weren't able to protect Cressida, but acknowledges that he needs them, but also that he's weakened enough that he can't really take them out at the moment. And MK questions this, and we completely fly out the whole window of like, you're my son kind of thing, like, you get everybody ready to go assault the widow's forces, otherwise I'll find someone who can. It's like, dude, you're like coughing up blood and just acting kind of stupid. Then of course we get the one sleeper that we follow throughout the rest of this thing as MK's buddy, the Eli kid, who's just kind of annoying. Like, there really isn't much to his character, and it doesn't really help that we're already with MK, who has become really annoying. I understand his want of vengeance for his mother, but when you just kind of leave it all like that, it's like, okay. So we see that the Widow has sent Nyx and Tilda out to kind of scout what's going on with Pilgrim's forces, and she's pretty much also avoiding telling him about like the baby. He kind of confronts her, but we get a kind of change up in what's going on there. We see that Nyx and Tilda finally do see MK. We get a really crappy, well, it's crappy because it's bad character development for MK, but not like that it's done badly. We just see that he's lying to Eli, saying that he killed the master and did it to see the look in her eyes, let it know that it was him when he actually just stabbed her in the back. Of course, Nyx wants to take out MK, but tells us, like, we need surprise, you need to act like one of us and part of this team of what's going on. So they pull out of the area, and we see that Cressida has gathered all these things around her and does a spell that makes it rain blood. Now, I don't mind that this element was introduced, but since we have, well, now 2 episodes left, it is a really strange thing to introduce this kind of element of weather phenomenon and magic. Granted, the gift has been mystical, but we haven't seen outright magic like what Cressida has done before, and it's just kind of like, okay, and she essentially did it as a warning to say, stop what you're doing. Of course, Lydia's like, fuck your shit, and put her in a brig. Of course, we then get to the big resolution towards the end of the episode where we start getting into the actual fighting and action sequences, and these were pretty much well done. I really liked what was going on with this. We see that Pilgrim starts having his forces come up. The main issue I get is that Pilgrim's forces kind of fluctuate a lot in that we don't know exactly where his levels are at any given point, because it seems like he had a good amount of it, and then when we get into the battle, he loses some, and it just seems like the level kind of stays pretty much the same. It's just kind of weird that way, because he's like going forward, they've got shields and all that. We see the Widow starts her assault with like all these cool ass arrows and takes out a good portion of them, and it was pretty badass because of how the launcher worked. It was like, that's fucking sweet. Of course, they do that after Tilda and Gaius have created a fire barrier so that way they couldn't retreat. This pisses off Pilgrim. He decides to go up with the gift, and we get a fight sequence between Pilgrim and Widow, which works pretty well because we see that that Pilgrim is able to do some pretty crazy ass maneuvers even without the gift, jumping pretty damn high and like crashing through this kind of roofing element. But the whole main focus is to get Pilgrim into a position, because Moon backs up a truck with explosive and sets off a timer, and Widow's just keeping him under there while they're getting ready to blow him up. And we get this cool-ass sequence where Tilda and Gaius shoot these guide-wired crossbow bolts, and we see the Widow kind of slide down on them as, of course, MK is coming towards the gate of the sanctuary, and Pilgrim is seeing what's going on, and we see this giant-ass explosion kick off. Of course, Widow's forces go to retreat further into the sanctuary for protection, and Pilgrim wakes up thrown pretty clear, and we see that MK is seriously wounded. It's like, I understand that it's good to have MK still around, but I mean, he was like right in the center. He should have been like crispy fried. And granted, he is burnt up, and he's really screwed up. But I don't really see Pilgrim leaving anybody behind to kind of protect him or even drag him into the bus or whatnot, because he just starts doing vengeance, and we cut to him telling his forces, kill everybody but the Widow's mine, as they go dark-eyed and they charge in. Widow, of course, is coming up with her own game plan, sending Lydia off to kill Cressida, while Moon and Gaius decide to protect what's going on. Widow still does not tell Gaius about her potential pregnancy and goes off. And then Pilgrim's kind of gone. We just get these main sequences of the sleepers pretty much coming in and just wrecking all kinds of shop, but also getting wrecked by Gaius. And Gaius and Moon have some really good fight scenes in here. Like Gaius's kill, I put him as the kill of the week because he gets into this one position, he takes out one of the gifted, but then he does this backward slice that kills this one dude. Now, granted, the Eli dude has a pretty awesome maneuver, but it's kind of done as an overkill kind of effect, more so than the accomplished feat of a warrior really just taking out a threat. And we just see them like going back and forth. We see him using the environment as a great weapon. Of course, the Eli guy is trying to take out Gaius with a motorcycle, but instead takes out one of his own troops. I'm just like, that wasn't very smart. But Moon and Gaius are able to survive what's going on and then are able to get out of the garage. While this is going on, Lydia has gone into the cell to kill Cressida. And evidently, she has a gift all the same. And we then see a fight sequence with Lydia and Cressida. Now, I don't knock the technicalities of the fight scene. It's well done. The issue comes into effect of, like, Cressida has this gift that allows her to do all these kinds of things and evidently affect the weather and all that. And it seems like the plot demanded that this happen and the eventual death of Lydia more than the characters. Because, see, I'm more of a character kind of driven story person. I like it when we're put into a world, we follow these characters, and because something a character does proceeds to have all these chain of events that happen. When you have it where the plot kind of demands a character to act out of character for it to become plausible, it's like, what? So it felt kind of an ass pull at this moment for Cressida to pop out the gift and stab Lydia in the stomach as she makes her escape. Not that I'm saying that she shouldn't have it, but again, this would have been the third episode from the end of the series, and granted, we have had teases that there's more to Cressida than meets the eye, but like, okay, she could have just not even gotten captured in the first place and frickin' boot healed everybody with her two other harbingers. It's really weird. I know you do it for dramatic potency, but it's really kind of weird. So Lydia's bleeding out. That, of course, coincides with Moon and Gaius escaping from the garage. He sees Cressida running, and Nathaniel has a nice moment with Lydia, with her telling him to throw his sword in the ocean and try and live a peaceful life. But, of course, this is the second time a peaceful life has been taken from him, so he's probably going to go after Cressida and kill her ass. Nathaniel has also lost his badass sword because the Eli dude was able to break it. I'm like, that sucks. I actually would have rather had MK or Pilgrim break his sword because of all of what we've gone through with that sword. So we leave the episode off with Lydia dying, and that's that. Sunny's whole bit with Baji is that they're just, Kanan, his sister, is taking them through a supposed Black Lotus shortcut to the Badlands, and Baji's like, this is stupid, how can we trust her? Now granted, in the end, she does double-cross them, but not to the Black Lotus. Because Sunny could have brought up that it would have been easier for Kanan to let them both die than the Black Lotus compound. They have also made their way to the monastery, see that the sleepers are all out. It's like, oh, okay, we're getting characters caught up with what everything else has happened for. And Baji's just like, are we there yet? Why are we trusting your sister? And that's pretty much the gist of it. They get eventually to a Black Lotus ship place because Kanan wants to protect her brother and just have them sail off and be in a peaceful place. Baji, of course, is like, with Pilgrim and everything he's got, none of them are going to be peaceful. Why did we do this? And he starts banging in on Sunny, and there's a little bit of truth to it, but I think it's also unfair to Sunny for, like, he keeps talking about how Sunny hasn't been listening to him or anything else or anybody else, and that every time he's trusted somebody, like Quinn or Pilgrim or his sister, it's screwed everybody up, and that's what Baji would tell Henry. And in order to get them back in a nice place, Sunny actually does apologize to Baji and decides to go with him. Because Kanan was saying that she didn't want to unlock his gift because the only person who would then be able to lock it would be Pilgrim, that she didn't want him to die, she wanted to protect him. nice little bit of character development, but I think it could have been shortened and we could have had more movement on their plot front because, again, this is so close to the end of the series that they're trying to do, and it was just kind of wasted kind of filler. There could have been more done to, one, flesh out Kanan more, or get better information, or have more dynamic movement with Sunny and Baji. I was just really disappointed with what they did there. And I don't know, for one of the last episodes, this could have been done a lot better. It was not by far kind of like the worst thing I've ever seen on TV or whatnot. I've seen vastly worse things, but I was disappointed in how this episode turned out and how certain big things popped up out of nowhere with not as much explanation as they could have been given their importance. So we'll have to kind of see how these last two episodes shake out because the conflict needs to be wrapped up and there should be a lot of good action scenes that also give us some character development of what's going on to get our characters to their conclusion. So hopefully we don't have as many times as like pretty much Nix and Tilda looking at MK and not having much except a little bit of character development for him, and Sunny and Baji just walking. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.